let's have a discussion, more of a conversation around why we need more women in technology. And that's the priority and agenda today. Before we begin, I would like our panelists to do a 30-second introduction about themselves. What do they do? How many years of experience do they carry? And then we will get into the Q&A side of things, if that's okay with you all. Perfect.
Sounds good.
Please go ahead.
Let me just check if this is...
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Totally working.
All right. My name is Subhashish. I'm a recruiting leader and a diversity recruiting leader for Amazon. I lead diversity recruiting initiatives for Amazon outside of the US, which I feel really, really excited about and super passionate about. I've been in HR space for almost 20 years. I'm also a dad of 2 children. My son is 8 and my daughter is 5, and that's almost 50% of my job. And I'm super stoked to be here, and thanks for having me.
In fact, he's babysitting today, after this. That's amazing. Reema, over to you.
Hi everyone, Reema Jain. I work for Unilever as an IT director. 18 years of experience, pretty much in technology, and also a mom. I have a 12-year-old daughter, going to be a teen soon, so that's, quite a lot to handle.
God bless you.
Thank you. Good morning or good afternoon. I have 26 years of experience. First 10 years I worked for Toyota and GE. Last 16 years I have been working in technology organization, Computer Associates, DXC Technologies, now with EY. So in last 16 years I had both the delivery role as well as talent role. I also have 2 kids. My son is 20 years, is pursuing his technology in Penn State University. My daughter is doing her MBA in HR, and she's following my footsteps.
Awesome. So you guys, if you notice, there's about 50 to 60 years of experience on the table right now, including myself here. So I head women in technology here at VMware India, and my job is to help women upskill. But that's secondary. The context of today's conversation is more so that the fact of gender diversity of women in technology is very much needed. If you look at the statistics that we did some research on, in the last about 10 years, 19 million women in India have quit the workforce in India alone. And that's quite alarming, don't you think? Yes? Can anybody guess how many women in India quit their jobs in 2017 in the context of numbers I've given you over the last 10 years? Shout out loud, guys. It's just a guess. 5 million, 10 million. Sorry, say that again. Louder with confidence, please. 40% of what? That 19 million? Okay. Anybody else? 5 million. It's like a bidding system. Hana? Anybody else? 15%. Okay, you're close. Well, actually, 1.9 million women quit their jobs in India alone in 2017, guys. And that's alarming. And another true fun fact, and unfortunately it's not fun, 15 years ago, the female participation rate in India was 35%. Do you know what it is today? Any guesses, panelists?
It's come down.
Yeah, there we go. TA head knows his ratios. Does anybody want to go deep into the percentage of how much it fell down by? Wow, fell down by 10%. Raise your hands. Did you hear me speak before? Did you do a cheat sheet? All right, she's right. It's down to 25% and it's even lower now. It's at 23. So guys, this is alarming. We need women in technology. We need a diverse workforce, right? It's very important. And the entire objective is to understand how we can help women come back in terms of various of opportunities that are out there in the market. So let's kickstart this panel discussion. My first question, of course, is to Subhashish here. One of the key things is that women have an understanding or a perception that there is lack of flexibility at the workplace. And like you said, you're a father of an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and one of the key call-outs is that women want flexibility in the workforce. Now let's keep that in mind. I'm sure men also need flexibility. And you've written a beautiful blog about to be an Amazonian or a dad, right? So thank you for that. Do you mind sharing about your thoughts on this, please?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, as you might guess, I'm super passionate about diversity, but I also try to look at it from a gender neutral standpoint when it comes to balance, or we call it harmony. So when I don't know how many of, maybe none of you have read my blog. I would appreciate if you can just take a chance to look at, read the blog. The blog is about to be an Amazonian or to be a dad. Because when I used to work for Target, I used to work for Disney for a long time, then Target for a long time, and these two companies are a little different from Amazon. They haven't grown as fast as Amazon. They're more iconic, 80, 90-year-old companies. So when I was looking at this opportunity at Amazon, I was a little apprehensive, given what I had heard about Amazon. Right? And I'd heard, obviously, you hear all the great things, but you also hear some like concerns. There's just ton of work. There's a certain amount of intensity to work in Amazon, which we've all, a lot of us have read about. And there was this New York Times article, I think in 2014, something like that, which blew the top off these concerns, right? And a lot of that was proven to be not true. But the bottom line was there's a sort of negative perception about working in Amazon in terms of just work-life harmony. So I go there with this, anyways, I took the job, I'm here. I go there and I keep looking for this intensity, right? And then all the stories that I've heard that you probably have to forget about your like personal life. And I wear that hat and I'm looking at everything. I wait for like 6 months, 12 months, and there's a ton of work. That part is true. There's a lot of intensity. There's a lot of passion. And all of that is true. But I did, like my life somehow did not fall off the cliff. And I keep waiting, right? 6 months, 12 months. And I've been wanting to tell the story that, hey, like all the stuff that you're hearing about Amazon is not true. But I still wanted to be sure. So 18 months. And then finally, about 22 months later, I said, okay, 22 months, I'm still here. My life has not fallen off the cliff. Let me write this story. So that's why I wrote the story. And to your point, all the good stuff is true, but what we don't hear about Amazon, and this discussion is not about Amazon, is there's a ton of flexibility. There's a ton of empowerment. Nobody cares really how you are getting it done, where you are. All these are cliches, and I'm not saying anything new, but it was amazing to see that play out in my work life. And I'm pretty proud to say that I've been able to maintain a harmony, and it's a dance that you do every day. Every day is not the same. We all know that, but it's been a phenomenal experience for me in terms of working there. Now, thinking of you from a woman's perspective, I think it's important that you allow yourself to kind of explore possibilities and not be clouded by some of these perceptions and then the hearsay, etc. Because a lot of that might not be true. It doesn't matter where you're exploring, and you have to just step out of your sort of comfort zone or your concerns and just dig deeper, talk to people, and a lot of those concerns might go away.
Thank you so much.
I hope that.
Please.
Yeah, so Subhashish, I just wanted to add, am I audible?
Yes.
So I had a very similar, story. In fact, few years back, I changed jobs. And, a lot of time we make certain assumptions, right? That, we assume things and which are very, very far from the reality. So I was working for GE, Sreekanth is from GE, and, walkable distance from my house. And my daughter was very small, and it was working out very well, right? I was, created an ecosystem professionally, personally, and, being women, there are certain things how culturally we have to do, right? So, I have a fantastic ecosystem and I was doing great in career, right? And I decided to quit and change jobs. Everyone thought I'm crazy. My entire family was like, are you crazy? Everything is working fine, and coming from a North Indian background, kya career ke piche ja rahi hai na? That's the comment, I will get. She'll regret after a few years. So, but, I had a conviction that I want to go for it, right? And I joined this company, Unilever, and I think that's the best career decision I have ever taken. GE was great, but really like 3.5 years in Unilever, thriving at my career. I think that's the best decision I ever taken. There are companies who are giving you flexibility, as you're saying, and I did have to change, discipline myself on certain things, right? Earlier it was walking distance for me. Now I have to discipline my travel time, right? I have to discipline my commute time. But it's all working well, right? It's ultimately, as Subhashish was saying that, we live in a very agile way, right? It's ultimately what do you deliver, and if you're able to deliver, however you work, it doesn't matter. So, get those, whenever you're making a decision, make it based on facts, right? Don't assume things, it won't work out, it's far off, this company has flexibility, that won't have, I think, just take the assumption out of it and you go for, facts really.
Thank you, Reema. So guys, companies do have flexibility options. It's just how you maneuver yourself with those options and make it your career in these organizations. So coming back to Reema, it's a very simple question, Reema. Why is gender diversity so important for companies and the technical community today?
So Harjeet, I told you to be easy on me already.
Already being easy.
All right. So, to me, technology is all about, creating solution for problems, right? Today we have, technology, changing our life from ordering food to, ordering online, shopping. It's all about, creating those solutions. And those solutions can be as good as the perspective we have. Half a population of this country, almost half a population is women. Even in the world, it's women. So I think we deserve to have our perspective. We deserve to create solution which has our perspective. And I think it's pretty much business imperative to have women in the workforce and technology.
Totally agree. Totally. Anybody else would like to give their inputs? Would you?
Yeah, so the first one, I just would like to comment on the flexibility. Then
sure,
I'll
please, yes.
First, I would like to give a little commercial on EY. And EY, our purpose, we are a purposeful organization. Our purpose is building a better working world. If you look at EY logo everywhere, it's very articulated. And how do we create a better working world is by asking better questions, which leads to better answers, which leads to better working world. And as part of our philosophy, and EY is a technology company, we have advisory service on SAP to all latest technologies we advise our clients. We also have client technology, where we clearly compete with for skills like Amazon's hire. Then third one is our well-established business like tax and assurance, also getting highly technology enabled. It's a huge investment we are doing in technology. So anybody interested in technology, welcome to EY. You should not have any mindset that it is a tax and in assurance company. It's not. It's a technology company. That's what we are focusing on. And we offer a lot of flexibility for all people, not only women. We also offer flexibility for men. In fact, when we design workstation, if I have 100 head count, I only get for 50 head count workstation. Then what will happen to 50 people? And we expect them to work from home. And last year, 80% of the employees worked at least one day from home. And this year, we are proudly announcing that they should work 2 days from home. And so apart from that, we also have a lot of flexibility in terms of hours of work, then sabbaticals and a lot of things. It's a highly flexible and agile organization. So that's one thing we want, and we give to all gender diverse. In fact, now I'm a little scared to talk in my organization about gender diversity, because my last year gender diversity is 42%, and I hired 48%. And in HR and a couple of organizations, I have 80% gender diversity. I was in China last week. Entire China is 80% women.
Wow.
And last year we promoted PPETs. We call it as partner principals and executive directors and directors. 60% were women promoted into that category. Nowadays I'm going to talk about in my organization, how do I hire more men in HR, more men in China, than hiring women. Also, any program we are branding it. We are not calling it alternative or flexible. We are calling it agile working, because everybody requires agility, and not only for women. Of course, women require more agility. So that's one thing. So coming back into the question of technology, first let me address what is technology. The technology is not only the skill set, like, especially digital today, like social, mobile, or AI, ML, chatbot, IoT, blockchain. For me, these are commodity today, and very easy to hire these commodities. And two areas which we are really missing. One, we call it as domain knowledge. A technology without domain knowledge is a real commodity. If you want to make a differences, we have to have a deeper domain. For example, we pay SharePoint skill set for $200 per hour and $8 per hour. Then whom we are paying $200 per hour is the person who come with a deep tax domain on SharePoint or .NET. So for me, technology include deeper domain knowledge. The second one, technology also include practices like Agile, DevOps, design thinking. Then technology also include curiosity and creativity. And the last one, not the least one, technology includes purposeful leaders. We want purposeful leaders. I always believe in my last 15 years, really working in technology. I was running a delivery for a computer science organization, Computer Science Corporation and DXE. We acquired HP Enterprise Services. From my experience, we want purposeful leaders. There are two types of leaders I have seen it. One is play to win, and another one, play not to lose. Play to win people have strong purpose, powered by passion and what do you call it as action. The play not to lose are really powered by problems which they created yesterday and they try to solve. And when you solve problems what you created, it can be cost, it can be bugs, it can be low productivity, whatever it may be, you always have a fear of failure. So the problems followed by fear and fear followed by reaction. So I have lived in a couple of organizations which is lead to not to lose, and today I work for UI. It's so relieving to see that we are playing to win, and the diversity makes a huge difference, and technology is a mindset rather than a skill set. I always believe mindset will take you places where skill set cannot take it. And when I deal with many of the technologies, I can deep into that, it's a mindset game, and that's what we play with our employees, play on our products and services, and play with our customers.
That's amazing. A lot of key takeaways there. So since we have Sreekanth already talking about why it is important to have a mindset change, there's also a perception, and it's somewhat true, that women think that there are lack of role models at the next level where they don't get mentorship or coaching or whatever. And I'm sure, Sreekanth, you have a couple of women leaders that are rolling up to you, right? Any thoughts on that mindset change or on that change in perceptions where there are lack of role models? I mean, right here today, there are so many role models sitting next to each other. They don't have that mindset, okay, they have to be at a particular level or a particular designation to be a role model. Now, can we get a male perspective on that? Do you really think that A, women lack role models, or B, can they not look at male role models also to move forward in their careers? That is one question. I mean, we can open it to other aspects as well.
The first one, in my 26 years, especially last 16 years, I not only I led a team which a lot of women leaders, wonderful women leaders. I also reported to women leaders. In my last job with the Britannia Industries, I was the CIO. I was reporting to Vinitha Bali, and she's considered as one of the legendary leader in that space. One of the biggest thing I would like to, when you talk about role models, the careers are changing very fast. Do not have role models in the corporate world. That's one thing I always, whenever I go to MBA institute or engineering institute for campus, I ask first question, how many of you want to join blue chip companies? 80% of the people raise their hand. Then ask them the next question, how many of you want to be an entrepreneur, start your own company? Balance 20%, depending on the college, the percentage varies. Then ask them, how many of you want to be freelancers? Nobody raised their hand. Then ask the another questions, how many of you want to make twice as salary as employee working in blue chip companies? Everybody raised their hand. Then I said, that's the way. If you want to do that, be a freelancer. So I have done a lot of research over the last 5 years on freelancing, and I developed a product called Dynamic Talent Cloud, which I have an IP. I studied careers in Kaggle, which is a big data and analytics freelancing community. Topcoder, Upwork, Qualtrics, like 52 sites I studied it. What kind of people are there and how much they are earning? What kind of companies are emerging? So my belief is by 2025, 60% of the IT professional services organization, advisory services organization, products and services company will have freelancers. In that, I believe strongly 80% will be women leaders who are going to drive that freelancing community. So first one, please do not have a role model of corporate. I think you will get really disappointed in the future because that's going to disappear. The role models are coming from startups. Role models are coming in freelancing world. So understand that I am working with the Malaysian government and many other universities in India. We are teaching kids at the college in the first semester itself how to become a freelancer. I have designed an elective on freelancing. So please come out of the corporate world, the so-called role models. Then if at all you are looking at the role models, I fully agree with you. The role models in the technology career are not many from women. That's one thing. The charter I have taken, I have an organization called CT, Client Technology, and InfoSec and EWT. Plus we have advisory. I have taken a target of getting 60 to 70% in next 2 years women leaders. In fact, I recently had 2-3 people from outside. So when we nurture the women leaders, in the future of career in technology leadership is going to be craftsmanship. 20 years or 30 years back, industrialization have standardized all the jobs. And now all the standardized jobs are taken away by automation and eliminated by lean thinking. Now the future of career will be craftsmanship, the craftsmanship or UI, the craftsmanship around architecturing, the craftsmanship around designing, the craftsmanship around what do you call it as microservice architecturing, not monolithic platforms and everything. So that's where we need to invest on, and my strong belief in these areas of craftsmanship, the purpose, the curiosity, the creativity is going to be a differentiator. I'm not getting here gender bias, but unfortunately or fortunately, all these characteristics are women oriented characteristics, and that's what I feel it is going to be rewarded and recognized. But organization need to nurture the career paths very carefully. One of the investment we are doing is creating a future career paths using a lattice model, where we are showing that there are different ways you can build your career. How do you personalize your career, and how do you set a different pace for velocity for career growth? And some may take, because I have a kid at home today, I need to take care, so I'm okay to grow slowly into that. But that's also possible. Somebody ready to take a risk and grow their career fast. So how do you set different pace in the career planning? So a lot of work we are doing on that. So the short answer is, I will again encourage, do not look at the corporate permanent job as role models. It is going to disappear.
Thank you. Would you like to share your inputs on this?
Can I? Go ahead.
So, completely agree with Sreekanth, right? There's no need to look for a role model. Their role model, next to you, maybe your neighbors, somebody sitting next to you. In fact, today, even, in today's world of technology, we see a lot of role models, right? So when we started our journey as a technologist, like 15, 16 years back, and there were no role models as such, right? I mean, women were hardly seen as, who can code. So in fact, I just wanted to share a small story. When I started my first role as a technologist, like an architect, I had all men in the team. I was the only woman. And, everyone was like, okay, she can't code. How can she be an architect, right? That's what, the kind of welcome I got from the team. And people refused to collaborate with me because they just thought, I'm no good, because they all have, deep technical skills, and being a woman, I can't have that. And that's the kind of, mindset and stereotype we used to have few years back. But I think things have changed. In fact, those same set of people, and it happened to me multiple times, but same set of people when in crisis or while, doing certain solutioning, I was the one who gave altogether a different perspective, and it worked, right? So those are the people who came back and say, why does it, women can code, women can be a good architect, right? So again, the point I'm trying to make that today there are a lot more role models. There are a lot more role models today which exist in the industry. They're next to you. There's so many of them, right? So look for them, but ultimately, I think for me, I don't think so. It's all mindset thing, right? Ultimately, you need to have a conviction in yourself rather than looking for role models, right? If you have it in you, you don't have to look for role models anymore.
Hey, can I missed to add one important point here. I fully agree with you in terms of there is need not look for a new role model, but there are a lot of sets of jobs are coming up in the industry, and the competencies are changing in a big time. So today, industry is not looking for intelligence. They are looking for more of a grit, G-R-I-T. And I don't know how many of you read the book by Angela Duckworth. The name of the book is called The Grit. And the grit, definition of grit is called purpose and perseverance. And today, organizations are looking for people with a strong purpose and perseverance to pursue the purpose. That's called a grit. I strongly encourage read that book. So I was doing some research on, before coming here, on women in technology. And every culture, every country, the number of people who are graduating from university, especially women population, is increasing. As well as the number of people who are pursuing their career in technology at the middle and senior level is also decreasing. So that's a really puzzle. That's what organizations are trying to solve it. The second one of the interesting statistics I read is the women entrepreneurs are more successful than male entrepreneurs. It's across this one, and the reason is women entrepreneurs have more grit. They have very strong purpose on the product or the ideas they have, and their perseverance to get through or the resilience they had in execution of this project is very, very high. So one of the things I've been educating my organization is, let's not look for most intelligent people in the earth to grow career, but look people who have purpose and perseverance to drive their career as well as business results.
Thank you so much. Please.
Yeah, well, one of the different angles I wanted to take on this question is alongside role models. We've seen in Amazon a really good success of networks and affinity groups. And I know a lot of companies have it, and we've got some amazing stories of how these networks have benefited women and different segments of employees. It's not just women, but also driven pretty profound business results. I'll give you an example. So we have a African-American women's network called B and Black Employees Network in Amazon in Seattle. And this affinity group is pretty strong, and they would meet every 15 days or whatever. And in one of these network meetups, one of the women came up with this idea that, hey, we sell all this great stuff to customers, and we are a customer-obsessed company, but I don't see anything that is specifically catering to African-American women, particularly about our hair, because our hair needs a different kind of products, different kinds of needs. And this was just, the genesis of this conversation was in this network community conversation. And then one thing led to another, and she kept pursuing this idea. And I think last year we launched this new service for all African women about all kinds of products and services that they might need. And it's become a pretty big business. And that story was so inspiring on so many levels. The story of an idea, the power of a network, the power of a community, and how you can harness that to make an impact. And as you said, there are 50% of the world is women. If they're not thinking about the products, then who's going to think about the products? So I thought I'll take a different perspective on that.
Wonderful. Wouldn't you guys agree? That's a soft yes. Awesome. Great. So guys, moving on to the next tangent, I would like to ask Shubhashish the next question in terms of women, like I told you, right? 25% is the current participation ratio, where 75% have actually are looking at restarting or trying to rejoin the workforce. What suggestion would you give the women professionals who are currently working in terms of pursuing their careers? Why is a lateral shift important? Number one. And women who have dropped out of the workforce from technology, they tend to go into the non-technical side of things, like maybe, like he said, entrepreneurship or non-tech, because it's easier to do, right? So what would be your suggestion for women who are either professionals, continue to do technology-oriented jobs, plus women who have dropped out, they should also come back in terms of getting into tech itself? What would be your suggestions to both of these audiences?
Yeah, great question. I think the last session was pretty amazing. I learned a lot from the conversation.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that, I think that there's a lot of answers to your question in the last session. From my standpoint, when we look at talent and we look at candidates, we encourage them to not take the process for granted. And we've always challenged ourselves within the recruiting organization, how are we designing processes that will help different talent segments? And which means that we challenge our own processes. For example, we took an initiative to prep candidates about interviewing at Amazon. We didn't do that before, because one would think that, well, I'm not going to tell them how to ace the interview, but we challenged that assumption. It's not an exam. if we tell you what are the things that are important to us, for example, we have these 14 leadership principles. And the whole of Amazon pretty much runs on the back of these principles, whether it's talent, whether it's customers, products, performance, everything. And this is, obviously, it's profoundly important for interviewing as well. And we realize that we have a lot of candidates who have amazing skills, but they're not able to do a good job on the principles because they're peculiar. We call ourselves peculiar. And we realize that can we help candidates just get themselves prepared, give them some time, and then see what happens. And it turns out that when we did that, candidates performed better. So the point I'm making is, do not take anything for granted. Ask questions, like Sreekanth said, even to your prospective employers. Even when you're talking to a recruiter, ask questions. Hey, can I get some tips? Can I get these interview guidelines, and so on and so forth. Even when you're getting into an offer stage, ask questions. Don't think that this is the job, this is it, and it's cast in stone. It's not. So you need the job as much as the companies need you, as much as you need the job, right? And it all starts from you being very confident and saying, hey, can I ask you a question? Could you look at it in this way? And then one thing could lead to another. So that's my kind of first response. The other one is, again, I know I might sound like I'm plugging this program that we're going to relaunch. We are relaunching, I call it the rekindling of Rekindle. We had a program called Rekindle to attract women who are coming back after a break. And we've learned a lot. We launched this first program last couple of years back. It did not work out. And we learned a lot from that, and we're relaunching it. In fact, we're working with Jobs for Her on that. And we're redesigning our processes as well, which is how do we attract this talent segment? There are talented people who are coming back after a break for a very genuine reason, but they're not exactly in the same place as every other candidate. So how do we help this talent pool get closer to the opportunities? So, and we're redesigning, whether it's the term of the assignment, the kind of work, the way we'll assess their performance, all of that has to be redesigned. Again, the point I'm making is there are companies that are definitely pushing themselves to attract folks who are coming back after a break. And you have to join that conversation, you have to lead that conversation, and then kind of find a path for yourself.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Yes. So, any questions on that from the audience?
So as they think about the question, I just, yeah.
Sure, go ahead. I was just going to ask that, but I thought I'll ask the audience. I'm assuming your question is you don't have the visibility for those opportunities, and how do you get that visibility so that A, you can move laterally, horizontally, or women restarters, where do they all begin, right? Would anybody like to take that question, please?
Yeah, I was alluding to that. The first one, we need to make a very fundamental structural change in the talent process in an organization. The superficial diversity policies will not help. That's what my biggest learning I had. And the EY is a great place to reinforce that message. First one is the Diversity Council is headed by Carmen, who is our CEO and chairman. And I'm part of that Diversity Council. I got invitation yesterday. I feel very privileged to be part of that council. The second one is we are making huge structural changes, which is visible to the people like you to really know how serious we are on this journey. One biggest structural change we are making is we are bridging the pay parity. We are yet to announce it to the media, but don't take it outside and start putting. It's a big sensitive issue. A lot of CEOs do lip services, but we are broadly investing millions of dollars effective October 1st. That's our pay cycle. This pay cycle we are investing. I did a lot of research on that. The women are getting 73 cents when a men get $1. That's the disparity in the marketplace. And some of the companies' disparity is huge. I'm telling it's average disparity. So we acknowledge that and we are funding that disparity. We are correcting every employee in GDS, EY, women employee, their salary at a median of male employees in the job family. And that's a bold move. Then we want to ensure, how do you ensure that the disparity doesn't creeps in the life cycle management of employees? So that's what the structural change we are making it. We want to ensure the first structural change is the job descriptions are going to be rewritten. And I'm in a lot of WhatsApp group. It's very pathetic to see some of the WhatsApp group people send, hey, I'm looking for this profile. Do you know anybody recommend? And they put only male need to apply. That's a huge extreme of a job description which says except one gender only should apply. Even at some job description like a receptionist say that only women should apply, male should not apply. That also is there. The second I'm talking about job description, some of the descriptive competency uses are gender bias. For example, when I was in Britannia, Vinitha used to train me. She used to ask a question, what do you think about it and what do you feel about it? So when she asks, what do you feel about it, I'll answer what I think about it, the logical part of it. She said, no, which I got it, thinking the feeling part of it. If I do, how employees will feel about it. So some of the job description we'll talk about thinking rather than feeling is more important. Some of the job description have words like convergent, but they don't use diverging. Women have more diverging thinking process. So we are rewriting entire job description. Then we are looking at every candidate position should have 50% diversity candidates slated. Selection will be competency based. So the entire life cycle, we are making it very clear our intent is to give equal opportunity for all gender when it comes to promotion, when it comes to merit increase, or when it comes to appraisal rating. We want top performers, women represented sufficiently there. So unless you make these structural changes, and today digital technology helps you to make a lot of structural changes. When we do screening, we are implementing Watson for screening of resumes. There is no bias comes in screening stage. So digital technologies are really helping us. Whenever we do any employee life cycle, we are using big data and analytics to understand any bias or unconscious bias are coming in. The last one, I know in interest of time, we took all our women leaders to a program called the PPP, Power, Purpose and Presence. It's a 13 days graduation program where one of the things we teach women how to negotiate salary. Then I told all my talent leaders, because women are very shy in negotiating salary, isn't it? So we taught all our leaders how to negotiate career, how to negotiate terms and conditions of services, how to negotiate compensation. It's a 13 days program. One day we only teach about how to negotiate. So that is a structural change you make it. Unless you make that structural changes, all the superficial policies and programs will not be visible and doesn't stick to the DNA of the organization.
Yes, please, Reema, go ahead.
Just a very different perspective, and just picking on Subhashish's point on, women who are coming back to work and on the confidence, right? I'm a great fan of Formula One, right? So I just wanted to take that analogy that, in Formula One, you're going all out with full speed, right? You're there on the top of your game, you are, acing. And then you have to take a pit stop because you want to refuel. And you take a pit stop, few seconds, and then you go back. It takes few laps for you to get back on the race and maybe ace, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, we have to make choices. There are times when we have to take a break. Careers today are 25, 30 years long, right? In a Formula One, few seconds of pit stop for a 90 minutes race, it's okay. For a career which are 30 years, 1 or 2 here and there year doesn't matter. So when you're coming back to work, have a chip on your shoulders and have that confidence, right? I think that's very, very important. You have to have the chip on the shoulders, and you have to, you are coming back, and, it's okay for, you lost 1 or 2 years. So that's the only advice I will give. Have that confidence. Don't lose that confidence. Don't lose that core skills.
So may I ask you, Reema, in that context of confidence, of course, the next question was in context of how women can gain the confidence. And in the previous conversation, we also learned the importance of learning. Do you want to give some advice to these women about upskilling once again, why upskilling is important for that confidence that they need to build upon? Do you have any suggestions for them?
When we interview and when women are coming back from work to work, right? One of the key things which we look at is whether they are, still in touch with their core skills, right? I think that's the key. Right? So when you are on a break and you want to come back, I think that's the key, that you have to be in touch with your core skill, right? So it doesn't matter if you don't know, certain new skills like AI, ML and all, but let's say if you are an ERP expert and you're coming back with that, that's the first thing which we look at, right? And today if I think Sreekanth was also talking about freelancers, the entire gig economy which we are talking about, right, gives an ample of opportunity to all of you, right? So if you you can't work full-time, leverage that gig economy to do part-time work, right? So that you're in touch with your core skills and you can, upskill as you need. So I think this gig economy really works well for all the women who want to sometime ramp down on their career and want to ramp back up, right? So I think leverage those opportunities, what I would say.
Awesome. Do you guys think skilling is important?
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Yeah, it's me
We're
here.
out of time?
Yes. Because
I
we
thought
do
I
have
time
to.
till 1:30.
We do have to take a question from
Sure.
the group,
Please.
HerRising group, which has come in online. Priya Venkatesh would like to ask the panel, regarding quitting jobs, some friends and colleagues I know have quit their jobs because of bad bosses and not because of bad workplaces or companies. What is your take on this?
Can you come back?
Sorry. Some friends and colleagues of Priyanka have quit their jobs because of bad bosses and not because of bad workplaces or companies. What is your take on that?
So my boss was not good. I left my job, and they loved the organization, but they didn't like the boss, so they left it. So the question is,
Speak up. I'll give a different perspective, right? And I'm a big fan of Apurva Purohit. She says, come out of the Sita syndrome. I don't know if you've heard. Don't play that victim card. Everywhere there are bad bosses. Speak up.
thank you. Would you like to add, Shubhashish and Sreekanth?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. The victim mentality is what I always tell people. You need to speak up, and organizations are now having huge platform which gives you to speak up in whatever form you want to do it. And if you shy away, it will give a lot of strengthening opportunity to such bosses, and that's very bad. So speak up, and organizations will solve it. I have seen every organization, they're very serious about resolving it.
So speak up with confidence also matters, right? If you're going to be jittering and you don't give your conversation, and there's always the HR department to help you with these issues, and it's not uncommon anymore. It's there in all organizations.